I'm Norwood Holland, and this is Norwood Holland's editorialindependence.com, a blog devoted to entertainment, book reviews, legal issues, among other things of vital importance. It's my own little soapbox. Today I'm speaking with attorney and author Brian Boger. Brian is in private practice, specializing in foreclosure defense in Columbia, South Carolina. He also has a book out titled Southern Fate. And for purposes of full disclosure, uh, Brian and I have known each other for, I guess, about 45 years. We went to high school together. And though we haven't seen each other, this is my first time really getting a real view of him as something other than a still photo. And I have to admit, he doesn't look any worse for wear. We recently reconnected over a high school alumni website, and I discovered that we have a few things in common. We are both English majors, we both became lawyers, and we both write books. Hello, Brian, and thanks for taking the time to speak with me.
Well, thank you, Norwood. The same compliment goes back to you. You're no worse for wear. After all these years, it's
I know,
amazing.
I know. I it's a lot of years have passed between us, but talking to you again, it's just like 1969 again. You still have that sense of humor, and you've always been very intuitive, and it's the same old Brian Boger.
There we go. There we go.
So to start things off, tell me little bit about your practice. Um, Foreclosure defense, that must be a booming business these days.
Well, it really is, and I got into it in sort of a backwards way. I practiced real estate law for years, and I knew sometime by 2000, by the year 2000, that the banks were doing something terribly wrong. And I began looking into how I could help my clients beat the banks. So by 2003, it seems like the bad stuff really didn't come out until 2008, but by 2003, I joined a group called the National Association of Consumer Advocates. And that's a consumer group it's based in Washington, where you are.
NACA.
NACA, yeah, NACA. And it is a terrific organization, and it has helped me understand the legal issues even better and defend people in foreclosures. It's a booming business, but quite frankly, it's hard to get paid. The banks pay better, but I wouldn't sleep at night representing those people. So I sleep well.
I understand. I understand. Okay, let's move on to your book. Uh, I've read it, reread it, and as you know, I'm deep into it. Um, Give us a brief synopsis of Southern Fate.
Well, it's a story about a rather mediocre lawyer who happens to be exceedingly handsome, and he falls into a
Is this biographical?
not at all. he he falls into a case. He gets lucky with a case, and quite frankly, not even necessarily through his good work. His clients actually do some of the work, and he wins this big victory. And the day that he wins that victory, his wife tells him that she's moving in with her lesbian lover, and that's sort of how the book begins. But there's so many complications that go on in this book, as you know, having read it. Um, I have on the back side of the jacket, I said it's a legal thriller wrapped around a murder mystery, and I'm not sure that there is a genre that does that. But Frank has other physical challenges that make the book, I think, pretty darn funny.
It does.
And he is an uncoordinated mess. He can't walk and chew gum at the same time. He's horrible, quite frankly, between the sheets. Everything about Frank physically is a mess, with the exception of his good looks. But because of those good looks, he's vaulted onto the national stage through serendipity. He is noticed by someone in New York who needs a legal guy, a legal editor to talk about legal issues on the air, and he's perfect for that. And so that's really where the book goes, and the other part that I can almost see you asking me this question is, well, where does the murder mystery come in? And as the book moves along, you learn that there's a series of murders that are happening in his fair city, all of which are against women. All it's women who are murdered, and his adopted brother Dale makes it a mission to find the killer. So
Right. Well, one of the problems I had is that you can't neatly classify your book into one of the genres because it spans a couple of genres, and which is a good thing. That kind of makes you sort of a unique writer. We're all taught that we should write by a formula. Certain genres have certain formulas, and that's how you develop a following. And of course, you being a neophyte, you're sort of learning as you go.
yeah,
Um, so one of the issues I wanted to talk about is the brothers. Um, I think you treat the brother relationship very well. And of course, you have a brother, I have a brother, you have two sons that are brothers. So talk about that brother relationship between Frank and Tools. I believe David is his real name.
yeah, that's right.
Uh,
Um,
Because
well,
Tools,
Frank is
go ahead.
Frank is sort of a physical mess, and Tools, his brother, is not. He's a boat captain. He lives in nature every day, and he really is, I think, the the voice of reason in the book. He really just tells Frank when he's being a jerk, and quite frankly, Tools is my voice in
Oh,
that
okay.
book. When Tools talks, that's Brian Boger just screaming out there.
Well, that reminds me when the high school classmate Connie, what's her name, Connie?
Oh, Hampton.
Yeah, when Connie Hampton shows up. That is one of the most hilarious scenes. She's had all this work done. She's had her body rebuilt, breast implants. She's had
Her nose fixed, her thighs slimmed, her
yes, and she wants to get cozy with Frank, and so
right,
Frank sort of like pushes her off, and then she invites Frank to feel her breast.
right,
Of course, he wants no part of it, and Tool steps up. I'll feel him. I think that was one of the most hilarious scenes in the book. But
yeah,
I see I see Tools as his savior and protector of Frank because as Tools tells him that he's not in step with the universe
right.
and you're out of rhythm. So I have a program to teach you rhythm. And I've never thought of anybody being taught rhythm. I always thought rhythm was sort of a natural instinct.
I think it is.
Well, I'm not so sure because that method that Tools came up with seems to work. But that is probably the most hilarious scene in the whole book when he rigs him up with this helmet with all these weights and things uh, that sort of forces him to. There you go, there. That's the
You didn't,
Av helmet.
didn't think I'd do this interview
I
without
did.
having
Well, so
this is Frank's ab helmet, and you
yeah. So,
his
but
ab helmet.
but 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 here I am trying to imagine him in this helmet in this getup. Now he has one that has weights that go down to around his crotch, right? Because
Oh yeah, oh yeah, or the whole series of things to give Frank some rhythm. Oh yeah, and he hurts himself with
yes.
his waist. Oh yeah,
So I'm saying this spastic white fella kind of remind me of some of those dances we used to go to in the gym back in Fort Hunt.
I can dance.
Yeah. Well, I can testify to that. You can. But there were quite a few of those spastic white fellas there. But
Oh,
then
yeah,
a lot of them did have rhythm. So it's
right.
you know. But I think when people read that, they will just they'll have to do like I do. You have to put the book down and just laugh, you know. And he goes through that routine. But now I want to talk about your writing method. Uh, do you plot out chapter by chapter, scene by scene, or you kind of just sit down, sit back, and write from the seat of your pants, as wherever your imagination takes you?
A little bit of both. I think, and I learned in talking with other writers, such as yourself, that if you if you try to plot it out without some creativity, if you just mechanically plot out the chapters, that you may miss something. And I knew when I began Southern Faith that I was going to have some murders and there was going to be a resolution. I knew that much. And I knew that Frank was going to have this problem with his wife. But the rest of that came creatively, literally, and you know because you're a writer, by sitting and thinking about the characters and what I wanted to get out of them. And 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 as we say as writers, to give them hearts and livers and skin and bones and make them real people. And I think I've succeeded in doing that with these folks. Um, but to answer your question, a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's a creative process, as you know.
Yeah, well, I kind of start out with a loose outline, but then, as we both know, sometimes your characters will step out of the outline, and I've discovered that they'll take you in a completely different direction.
That's
You
that's right. And you and I talked over the phone a couple of weeks ago about a scene that I'm not going to disclose because I hope people will pick up the book and read it. But Frank, I had a choice to make Frank do something out of character in a particular scene, and I wrote it that he did it out of character. And I went back and showed it my staff. And they said Frank would not do that. That's wrong. And so I rewrote it to make Frank do what he should have done. The characters, as we talked about this morning, at some point the characters write the book. You don't write it anymore. And Frank at that point was writing the book.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, I can't imagine Frank being out of character.
well, that's right. And I realized that part of the reason that I wrote the scene wrong the first time is because I'm filled with testosterone.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a testosterone filled scene, and I couldn't help but give Frank that edge, but I took it away.
Okay. Um. So this is your first book,
Yeah.
and someone who is looking to publish their first book. Do you have any advice for them?
You know, it took me really 10 years to write this book. And I think, as I mentioned in my acknowledgments page, that if you have a passion for writing, just do it. Just absolutely don't quit. And I put it, I see shelves behind you. I put my book on the shelf a couple of times and just said, I can't do this. It's just too much work. But I was so passionate about it. I was so passionate that I just had to do it.
Yeah. I,
So
I,
that's
I think it comes to that point where you just have to do it. And I think you, like me, we probably live with the dream for about 20 or 30 years, but it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it.
that's right.
It's what
That's
they call ass in chair time. So,
right. That's exactly right. Yeah,
so what's next? I understand you're working on another book.
I am, and I can tell you the working title is Champagne Friday.
Champagne Friday.
Champagne Friday.
Okay.
And without disclosing all the details how it got that title, it's a mystery and a treasure hunt set in Aiken, South Carolina that moves to Washington pretty quickly.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yep. And I'm comfortable writing about Washington, having grown up there as the last 4 years of my high school career.
Right. Right.
So it's more of a national story than Southern Fate. It's more regional, but I think coming from Aiken, South Carolina, a renowned, I don't know if you know this, a renowned horse town. It's got polo in it, and it's got it's got more quirky characters, um, and some humor. Uh,
Now I understand that the lead characters are women in this book.
well, there are in Southern Fate. I think one of the mistakes I made was not making my female characters shine as well as I could have.
Okay.
And in this book, it's another young lawyer that is part of the book, but the female characters shine in Champagne Friday and really have a it'll be a broader appeal to women. I think it's a much better book concerning the women.
What that must have been a challenge, uh, writing from a feminine perspective. I mean,
Well, yeah. Um, and I'll be honest. I don't know. I'll let you read it.
well, but
See,
I've had the same problem, and I'm saying, well, I don't know if I could do that, but I do the best that I can. But I know some male writers who have no problems with them, and people are always asking, how do you write from a feminine perspective? But it's it's
yeah,
all imagination, so I guess.
it is. We've talked off the air. Some of the scenes that we write, um, and I'm not embarrassed to say this. When you finish a scene, you either laugh if it's funny, or if it's touching, you sit and cry. I mean, it's crazy how you get involved in those fictional people's lives to the extent that they live in your head, and they become real people to you. So the women in this story, um, Champagne Friday, they've got hearts and livers and skin and bones, just like the male characters. It's I think going to be a good read.
It sounds like it. Sounds like a happy hour on Fridays.
There is some of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Um, where can people purchase Southern Fate?
Well, Amazon.com.
Okay.
Just go to Amazon and type in Southern Fate, type in Brian Boger, Brian Boger, and there you go. And thanks to you, it's available on Kindle now.
Okay. And I also checked out your Facebook page for Southern.
That's right.
You had about 9 likes because I've been driving traffic there, so I think this morning you had about 20. So I'm going to keep it up because I can't stop praising you and your book enough. To
Okay.
me, Southern Fate is just a delightful read. It's so funny, and it's filled with drama, and it's just a great read. I can't stop talking about it. So we're running out of time now, Brian, but thank you for your time, and good luck with Southern Fate and Champagne Friday.
Friday. Thank you so much, Norwood. I appreciate the interview and hope to see you soon.
All right,
Take care.
you too.
Okay, bye bye.